Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now I'm going to do a bit of a different one today. I get a lot of questions all the time about what it takes to run a marine aquarium, or some questions about my saltwater tank. So I thought I'd put together a video of kind of maybe 10 questions that I frequently get, and I'm going to answer them for you guys to at least start to get a bit of an idea about how to keep them, what you need to keep them, and when you're keeping them, what you should pick, and all those type of things. So I hope you enjoy the questions. I'll probably do a couple of these because there's so many questions I get asked, but these are probably the 10 biggest ones about my tank specifically, or just setting up a marine aquarium. So enjoy the video, and please make sure you comment any questions down the bottom that you want me to answer. You can probably find the answers online, but I thought I'd do this in a fun, different way, and hopefully you learn something. Thanks guys.
So, I have a question. Are marine aquariums hard to maintain?
Yeah, great question, Gilbert. So if we're looking at marine aquariums, yes, they are harder than freshwater. They're going to take you a lot more maintenance, and it's going to have to spend a lot more time and money dealing with it and maintaining it. The most challenging thing is keeping the water parameters stable. You want them all the same across all the parameters for coral as well as for fish, so that'll take a little bit of getting used to. And you'll probably have to increase your water change, and you might even start to need to dose things, which is actually looking at other chemicals and other elements that you need to dose into the tank to make sure that the corals and the fish get everything that they need, and the whole tank of course. But to tell you the truth, even as a beginner, it's not hard to learn. You can easily learn it. I have no doubt that you will be able to, if you just put your mind to it. Do a bit of research, read up heavily, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Mr. Phil, I want to start a new aquarium, and I don't really know what to put it in. It's a marine aquarium. I've got some of the equipment, but I need to know, how do I actually start it? Now for a marine aquarium, it depends what you're setting up. So if you're setting up a tank that has primarily just fish, it's going to be very different to a tank that has full coral, or something in between where you've got a mix of both, okay? So yeah, there's lots of things to think about. Now a basic tank, obviously you have the tank itself. Most saltwater aquariums come with a sump design. That's a cabinet and a sump underneath that allows water to be held there and gets cycled through the tank from the actual display tank to the sump, and you can have more filtration and more things in the bottom. So of course, you're gonna need some rock, okay? Whether it's live rock, that's literally taken from the reef and is live, or artificial rock. You need sand or a gravel substrate. You obviously need salt water. So you need to make salt water or buy salt water and fill the tank with that, not just tap water. In terms of the equipment, heater, your tank needs to stay warm, like tropical fresh water, it's the same. You aim for about 24, 25 degrees is best for a saltwater aquarium. In terms of the filter, you'll usually have a protein skimmer down the bottom and some form of filter sock or filter roll that actually traps some of the waste that gets overflowed down into the sump. If you want to increase your flow in the tank, which it's encouraged to, you are going to need wave makers in the tank to help circulate the water and pick up all that waste, and to try to get it down into the filter and get it out of the tank. You've got a return pump down the bottom that usually brings the water from the sump up into the tank, which allows a little bit more water flow. Now beyond that, you obviously need a light on the tank. If you're going coral, you need a very specific light, something that you can control. Yes, it comes with a cost, but there's something to consider. A lid for the tank is always a good thing. There are lots of very skittish fish in salt water, so you'll get some that actually jump out at night, or if they're startled, they will swim straight up and straight out of the tank. Now when you've got the tank set up and all those equipment in there and ready to go, you do need to cycle it. So you need bacteria of some sort to get the cycle going, which will take a lot longer in salt water. Some people give it 4 to 6 weeks to cycle a saltwater aquarium, whereas a freshwater can be done usually a little bit quicker, and it's you can kind of speed it up with other things, but you should never rush a saltwater aquarium setup. You need to be patient, and you need to let things flow. All right, you need to test your water, and only when your ammonia and your nitrite is 0 is when you should add livestock, okay? And by livestock, I mean fish and also corals. Yeah, Phil, I've got a question. What's the difference between like a fish only and like a reef tank? Thanks for the question, Shun, that's a good one. So yeah, what's the difference between fish only and a reef tank? As the name entails, a fish only is going to have only fish in the tank. It won't just have fish, it'll have rock and gravel and wave makers and all the rest of it in it, but you won't have any coral. If you're talking about a reef tank, that is when you introduce the coral component. So you're going to have coral, live coral, whether it's soft coral, long polyp stony coral, hard coral, growing on the rocks and growing out, obviously, into the water and up towards the light. Both of them will still have a cleanup crew, which are your snails and your urchins and your starfish, things that kind of break down waste and keep the algae at bay. But reef tanks do require a lot more testing and a lot more watching, because corals are very sensitive, so you need to be mindful that you might need to, adjust things and dose things accordingly. But yeah, great question.
What salinity, the salt, should be in the tank for like a reef tank with coral and stuff? What salinity should I have?
Yeah, salinity. Good thing that people always ask. That's a great question. Now, salinity, you want it to be about 1.025 is what I kind of aim for, but it can be 1.023 up to about 1.026 in terms of specific gravity. Now, you can test this with a hydrometer, but I would probably, they're a little bit outdated. So I'd probably use something like a refractometer, which is something you look through to measure salinity. And there's also digital refractometers you can get as well. So that can help you easily test for salt water. So yeah, so it's the equivalent of 35 parts per thousand, which is the same as the ocean. 35 salt to 1,000 water molecules thereabouts. It's not very salty when you think about it, but that's the salt that's required.
Yep. What are good beginner fish for marine tanks? So if I've got like a small little tank and I want to put some good, beginner-friendly, easy to keep fish that aren't going to grow out too quickly.
Now, beginner-friendly fish, I can tell you that clownfish are going to be the best fish to first put in your aquarium, not only because they're hardy, they're also pretty good in the aquarium. They're cheap, they're accessible, and a lot of them now are captive bred, which means that they're already used to tank life before you've got them. So you can very easily acclimate them into your tank quickly. Now, the clownfish are in the family of damselfish, so there's other damselfish that are good for this as well. But you'll find is, as they get a bit bigger, they start to generate territories and they will start getting a little aggressive. So I do try to stay clear of the other damsels. Some of the other damsels, maybe like a blue-green chromis or something of the likes, would be a good call. Little lawnmower blennies, they have algal control. Royal grammars, they're bright purple and yellow, and they're quite, placid, and they're great community fish. You can also go things like gobies and filefish. They're also small, very placid, quite to a small size, depending on how big your tank is, of course. And you want to pick ones that are all compatible with each other. So always look online before you research. Don't go in the fish shop and be like, oh, that's cool, I want that, and take it, because that is not going to work out well for you. You need to research and figure out what will work best in your tank. Yeah, so here, I want to know how long I should cycle my tank. We've learned about the nitrogen cycle, but I want to know how to actually cycle it quick to make sure that I can get my fish and corals in there as quick as possible. So yeah, how long am I talking? It's a good one to think about. How long should a cycle take? Now, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks in the salt water. There's some really good products on the market that are like bottled bacteria that will help you start a cycle quickly. So you get it in, it's the ammonia source, which quickly converts into nitrite and then into nitrate. Obviously, ammonia and nitrite, we want 0 in the tank after it's cycled. So you do want a little bit of nitrate, because obviously the things in the tank are going to use them, especially the corals. 4 to 6 weeks with bottled bacteria, you'd be sweet to go. Yep. Are the corals actually alive? Are they a living animal? Yeah, good question, Reef. Now, are corals alive? Yes, they are. They're living organisms. Now, corals are actually made up of a symbiotic relationship between the coral itself, which is a cnidarian. The thing that we think of as corals is the coral polyp, this feeding mouth or something that can move and feed on. But the other component that kind of gives it its color and its variety is the algae that's found within the coral itself. So it's a photosynthetic algae, so it generates energy from the sun, hence why corals are found in coral reef in shallow water where light can get down to, because they need light to survive. Now, the photosynthetic algae is called zooxanthellae, which is individual single-celled algae that live within the cell, and they use the sunlight to generate food, sugars, which then the coral uses to feed off. On about 90% of their food intake to grow from this photosynthetic algae, and maybe 10%, or depending on the coral, might be a little bit different, but about 10% they get from actual feeding, so taking in plankton and small things out of the water column for them to consume and eat, because they do have a stomach. It's a very simple stomach, but yeah, corals are a living organism.
Yeah, perfect. How often should I do water changes in the saltwater tank? Is it more than what I do in freshwater or less? And how much should I be doing with the tank? Do I drain the whole thing out?
Sheldon, great question, mate. I knew you'd come in with a good one. All right, yeah. When you're doing water changes on a marine tank, you're looking at about 10 to 20% of the water volume to be changed. And I'd probably do that every 2 weeks. All right, if you have a tank with lots and lots of fish, or it's a lot smaller and you've got lots and lots of coral and bioload in it, you do need to change it more frequently.
Hey, Phil, I need some beginner corals. What are the best ones for me to put in a tank that are going to be easy to keep, they'll grow well, and they'll look cool? What do I pick?
All right, yeah, good question. So my tank in here is primarily soft corals. Soft corals are gonna be your easiest, probably your better corals to begin with, because they are hardy, they're easy to keep, they're colorful, they've got movement and flow and things like that, and they're relatively cheap. Softy-wise, you're looking at like mushroom corals. They come in a variety of colors and shapes and patterns and all the rest of it, as well as things like zoanthids, every color of the rainbow you can think of. They're individual polyps usually when they're purchased, but they do spread out and make long form colonies. There's a lot of other like encrusting, spreading corals like xenia, toadstool leathers, we're talking finger leathers, and then even like your Kenya trees, which are Signularia corals, are really good as well. Yeah, cheap, easy to grow, and good to start a tank.
Yep. Last question, number 10, over here. Last one. Can I use tap water in my marine aquarium? Or do I like to get tap water and I put like table salt in it and make salt water? Is that good enough?
No, Baitlin, you do not use tap water. Never use tap water. So you do need to buy salt water. You can buy natural seawater, which people have pumped out of the ocean to sell, or you can get RODI water, so reverse osmosis water, which has been put through a filter to clean it out and remove all the impurities. So RODI, you can actually buy a device that literally just screws onto a tap at home, and you can pump through the filters that you have in the RODI to make the water. And that water, you then heat up to the right temperature and you add in your artificial salt, okay? Not table salt, not the stuff you sit and eat dinner with, which hypothetically you probably could actually, but it wouldn't have everything you need for, or the amount that you would need to fill a full tank with salt water in the correct amount. So yeah, I recommend either buying the salt water or getting an RODI and making it yourself with artificial salt. Thanks for watching, guys. That was the weirdest video that I've ever made in my life. So hopefully you enjoyed it anyway, but I tried to make it fun and informative at the same time. So yeah, cheers guys. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Comment those questions if there's more for door part 2. Thanks guys, bye.
Yep, sir, at the back, over here. Sir.